Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you all for joining me. Today is the second session of our series, Chronicles of Character. And today's episode is going to be on an important figure, an interesting woman. Her name was Bulqais, and she was the queen of Sheba. So we'll be talking about her today. This session is going to be slightly different from last time, though, because we won't be having a break in the middle. So what we will do is we'll tell the story in parts, and after each part, we'll have a quick little discussion about what happened in the previous section, and I'll be seeing who is paying attention. If you'd like to switch your cameras on and talk with me, that would be great. But if you want to just chat in the dialogue box, then that is cool as well. So whatever you're comfortable with, that will be great. I hope you're all excited today, because I am. And without further ado, I will show you the first part, but I want you guys to be remembering that at the end of the session, we'll be talking a bit about what we can learn from these important figures in the story. So if you could maybe note down or make a point of some of the things that you can do to improve yourselves, or so that we can be better people that you might take from the stories. Our story begins thousands and thousands of years ago, so long ago that we aren't exactly sure as to when it took place, but we can estimate that it took place around 900 years before Prophet Isa was born. That's about 970 BC, somewhere in the ancient Arabian empires, in a place where we now know as Yemen. There was a kingdom called Sheba or Saba. The people there lived under a king who was a descendant of Prophet Noah. Descendant means someone who was the great-great-great-grandson or granddaughter of somebody else. So the king was a descendant of Prophet Noah. Unfortunately, the king had grown old, and he was worried as to who would take his throne after him, because he did not have any sons, but he did have a daughter. And in those days, kingdoms would pass on the throne to the sons, even if their daughters were capable of being leaders. So when he passed away, the people were worried, would this daughter do a good job of being their kingdom's ruler? They thought, how can she be our leader? She is a woman. Women should follow men, not guide men. What could she know about leadership? But she was a woman of great character. Her name was Bulqais. Bulqais was kind, generous, understanding, and intelligent. She really, genuinely cared for her people. She was also brave and courageous, because from a young age, she saw her father leading armies in battle. Her father had led many armies during his rule, because kingdoms would often attack one another for each other's lands. She would even help, directing the armies and helping with the battle plans, leading alongside some of the greatest warriors. It is said that Sheba had a lot of gold, which made her kingdom very rich. She also spoke eloquently, which means that she spoke very well. She wanted to prove that she could be a good leader for this powerful kingdom. Some say that she spoke to her people and said, "O you who are my people, listen to my words. For I want wisdom, because wisdom is sweet, strong, and useful. Wisdom shall protect me, and I will follow in its footsteps. I will look for wisdom for as long as I shall live." She built a good relationship with her people and showed them through her actions that she was worthy of the throne. And soon enough, they supported her, even though it is said that she became queen at a very young age. Some even say 15 years old. Now the people of Sheba were polytheists, and polytheists believe in many gods. They worshipped idols, big statues, small statues. They worshipped the moon, and most importantly, they believed that the sun was God of all gods. They had grand places of worship where they prayed to all their idols. They also believed that the bull was a symbol of their moon god on earth. Some legends say that people thought Bulqais was half bull and half human, but this was because of her special throne. It is said that her throne had half of it shaped like the legs of a bull, so when she stood on top of it with her long floaty dresses, it seemed like she had hooves. Also, her throne was shaped like the sun and was bedazzled with jewels all around it. So when the sunlight would stream in at dawn, the gems would reflect the light and it would bounce throughout the room. And people would bow down to the throne as if it was a symbol of their sun god. So that was the first part of our story. And I was wondering if anyone could tell me, if you're brave enough to unmute yourself, what was the name of Bulqais' kingdom? Anyone remember? Let's see. Zara asked if your hand shot up straight away. I'm just going to ask
Saba.
you to Muhammad Rizwan said Saba. Maybe Zara can tell us, Zara Asif, can you tell us the other name of that place?
Saba or Sheba?
Brilliant. There were two names, Saba and Sheba. Okay, so what we're going to ask next is, if we looked at the map today, can anyone remember where this place would be? Zara has a hand up. We've got a stray voice coming from somewhere. Zara Ali?
Yemen.
Someone said Yemen. That is the correct. Well done. Yemen is the correct answer. And I'm going to ask some questions about some of the words that I used. So I said the word descendant. Can anyone remember what definition I gave for descendant?
Does a descendant means like this? Your children.
Descendant similar is a relative meaning. That is true. Children, descendants are relatives, right? So great grandsons or great granddaughters, those are your those are the descendants. And who can remember who is Bulqais the descendant of? Her father was the descendant of someone, and so Bulqais was also the descendant of this prophet. Zara, yourself. Yes. Where who was her great granddad?
Prophet Nuh.
Brilliant, Prophet Nuh, he was. Well done, Fazil. I see you commented it as well. And the last question is that there's actually two parts to this question. I used another word which was called polytheists. Do you remember what that means?
Many gods. They worship many gods.
They worship many gods.
Well done. Also, well done to Mama in the background. I can hear her helping. That's okay. If you mute yourself and then when I say your name, then could you unmute yourself? That would be really helpful so that other people can participate as well. Okay, everybody? Great. So polytheist means they believed in many gods. And what did Queen Bulqais, her people, who did they believe that was the god of all gods? Asia Batul, that's your name on the Zoom, but I don't think that's your name.
That's my mom's name, but the answer is the sun.
The sun. Well done, well done. Also, Muhammad wrote that answer in the chat. Thank you for that. They did believe that the sun was the god of all gods, and they took other things like the moon and animals, but obviously this wasn't in line with what our religion tells us. So Thank you for paying attention. Let's move on to the next part where we'll look a little bit more about some of the other people during Queen Bulqais' time. Okay, bear with me. Let me just share with you. Bulqais was living at the time of the Prophet Suleiman, who is also a king of a huge empire. He addressed his people and told them that he was a messenger of God and that he had special skills. For example, he could speak the language of the birds and could even talk to ants. Not only did he have human servants, but he was also served by all sorts of God's creation, from animals and beasts to even the jinn. One of the birds serving Prophet Suleiman was called Hudhud, or in English, it's called the hoopoe.
This is what a hoopoe looks like.
One day, Prophet Suleiman was waiting for Hudhud in his palace to come back from a journey, but he was taking a while to return. Eventually, Hudhud came back and told Prophet Suleiman of his stories. He told him of a powerful woman named Bulqais, the Queen of Sheba. He told him of the unusual things, that she had everything. She had what people could only dream about. She had gold and silver, jewels and more. Not only that, but she was wise and strong. However, she and her people believed in many gods. The Prophet was astonished. He was amazed to hear of such a woman, but he was concerned and worried that her and her people believed in many gods. He wanted to talk to her and meet her so that he could persuade her to believe in the one and only God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Prophet Suleiman wrote her a letter to invite her to his palaces. It started with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin with the name of God, the most kind, the most merciful. Do not be arrogant and come to me willing to accept the truth that there is only one God. He gave the letter to Hudhud and asked him to deliver it. Once the queen received the letter, she spoke with her advisors. This prophet has invited me and my people to worship one God. Who is he, and how can he demand this of me? One advisor suggested perhaps we should wage war on his kingdom. Some people agreed, saying, we have a powerful army of warriors. We could fight them any day. But other advisors disagreed. They said, we should not fight anymore. It will only hurt our soldiers and our people. Besides, the letter doesn't talk about violence or threats in the first place, so we shouldn't fight him. The queen, Bulqais, decided to take the peaceful route. I know, I will send him lots of valuable presents, and that will show him that we don't need his truth and we're fine on our own. Hopefully, he'll just accept the presents like any old king and he'll forget about us. She sent lots and lots of gifts with gold, silver, precious jewels worth a fortune. But when the messenger arrived with the gifts at Prophet Suleiman's palace, they were in awe and wonder. Prophet Suleiman's palace was also grand and luxurious, which almost made Queen Bulqais' gifts seem a little less important. But the messenger was still thinking that he would accept them, because after all, which king wouldn't accept this many gifts? However, Prophet Suleiman was not a normal king. He was a messenger of God, and material things like money and jewels were not important to him. They didn't have any value. What was more important was to believe in one God. So Prophet Suleiman rejected these gifts, and he told Bulqais' messenger to tell the queen that such worldly things such as jewels and gold would not distract him, and they wouldn't get rid of him either, because believing in one God, the one true God, is worth more than any of the gifts that she could ever give him. So he asked the messenger to go back to Bulqais and ask the queen to accept his invitation and come to his palace. So that was the second part. I saw in the comments that some people know this story, which is really good. I hope it's refreshing your memory, and maybe you can look at the story in a different way. And remember, we're trying to think of what can we take from these stories that can help us improve ourselves. Okay, so in this part of the discussion, I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, what are some of the animals that Prophet Suleiman could talk to? Does anyone know?
Birds and ants.
Oh, someone unmuted themselves. I think that was Zara. Well done. Well done. He could talk to birds and ants. Next time, if you're going to talk, just wait for me to ask you, okay? But well done. That was a correct answer. And I wonder if you guys remember, there was a specific bird that was the messenger, and his name in Arabic was Hudhud, but the English name was... I see your hand up, Kian Nakvi. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Hudhud.
Hudhud was his name in Arabic. Does anyone remember the name in English? What's the name for that bird in English? Fazil, do you hand up? Well done. I can't see your name because it says Galaxy tab, but that is correct. Hoopoe. I think Fazil was going to say the same thing. He had his hand up. Well done. The hoopoe, and it was that orange bird that came up on the screen. And he had to send a letter to the queen that Prophet Suleiman wanted to send. And does anyone remember, what did that letter start off with? What did Prophet Suleiman start the letter off with? Michelle, Fatima, I see your hand is up.
Bismillah.
Brilliant. Prophet Suleiman started his letter with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So he wanted to show her from the beginning that I believe in one God, and that God is kind, and that God is merciful. Okay. So after the queen had received the letter, can anyone tell me, what did she choose to do?
I know.
You know, what's your name? I can't see you.
Zainab Abbas.
Zainab Abbas. Okay. What did the queen do?
She decided to give him many gifts, but he said that he wouldn't accept them because Allah is more valuable than any gifts he give me.
Wow, that was a brilliant answer. And you answered the next two questions that I had as well. So you probably read my mind. Well done, guys. Does anyone have a thought or some opinion on what Prophet Suleiman replied to her invitation of gifts? I think this was a really interesting move from Prophet Suleiman, because he could have just accepted all the gifts and the money and the gold, and he would have just been richer. But he was strong in his iman, he was strong in his belief in Allah, that he doesn't need all these material things. I'm just going to read some of the chats because I can see people are typing. Malika says, give a lot of gifts so he would leave her alone. Well done. Sending gifts. Bismillah. Well done, everybody, for participating. Dua and Zainab, do you have something to say about how Prophet Suleiman dealt with yeah, sure, someone's speaking.
So he thought that he wouldn't accept the gifts because he knew that Allah has prepared more gifts for him in Jannah, so he doesn't actually need those gifts.
That was amazing, Zainab. That's a really good description of what Prophet Suleiman was probably going through, thinking about whilst he was reacting to the Queen Bulqais. Okay, everybody. So I'm going. Oh, Ali Raza, you've got your hand up. Would you like to share something?
It was for some different questions.
That's fine. That's fine. You can unmute. You can mute yourself. Zara, I see that you've got your hand up. You can share with us if you like. Zara Ali?
He found spreading like the belief of one God more important than the gifts.
That is a very good point. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as one God is more important than any presents that she could give, the Queen could give Prophet Sulaiman, right? Okay, everybody, let's go on to the final part of our story. Oh, Aiza, I see that your hand's up. Oh, no, you've lowered it. That's all right. We'll just move on to the third and final part of our story about Queen Bulqais and how she met Prophet Sulaiman. And without any further ado, let me just share that with you guys. Although Prophet Sulaiman asked Bulqais to accept his invitation to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she did not accept immediately. However, she was intrigued. He's not interested in my wealth, and he's rejected all the gifts I've given him. I must meet this man, this king, and speak to him. So she decided to meet him. The task that Prophet Sulaiman wanted to achieve was something that seemed a bit impossible. He wanted a queen who believed that the sun and moon were gods and that idols should be worshipped. He wanted that queen to believe that there is only one God. But this would not stop Prophet Sulaiman. He was determined and wanted to surprise the queen with something that would make her believe that his God was the true and only God, and that Prophet Sulaiman was on the right path. He wanted to bring Queen Bulqais' throne all the way from her palace to his palace, and asked his servants who could do this for him. A jinn stood up and said, I can bring Bulqais' throne before you can even stand up. But Prophet Sulaiman wanted the throne to arrive even quicker. So a man stood up, claiming that he had knowledge of the book, the word of God. He said he could bring Queen Bulqais' throne within the blink of an eye. So Prophet Sulaiman accepted, and before they knew it, her throne had arrived in Prophet Sulaiman's palace right before them. So when the queen arrived, she was shocked to see her throne waiting there in the palace of another king. How can my throne be here already? I just arrived, and when I left my palace, it was still there. Maybe this man really is a messenger of God. How else would he have been able to bring my throne so quickly? Maybe he's speaking the truth and there is only one God? I think I should listen to him more carefully. Bulqais wanted to test Prophet Sulaiman, so she asked him quite a few riddles. For one of them, she ordered her servants to bring 2 baskets. Bulqais wanted to test Prophet Sulaiman, so she asked him lots of riddles. For one of them, she ordered her servants to place 2 baskets of flowers far away from his throne. One of the baskets had real fresh flowers, and the other basket had fake flowers. She asked him to work out which basket was which without getting up from his throne. So Prophet Sulaiman accepted this riddle, and what he did was he ordered his servants to open the windows. And when he opened the windows, bees started to come in, and they zoomed straight to the basket with the fresh flowers. And this riddle was easily solved by Prophet Sulaiman. This showed Bulqais that Prophet Sulaiman had lots of knowledge and wisdom. This man seems very wise. There must be something special about him. He's beginning to convince me that there might actually be one true God. In Prophet Sulaiman's palace, there was a floor of glass, and underneath the sheets of glass, there was water flowing with different kinds of fish inside it. When the queen had to walk over this floor, she thought that she was going to get wet. So she picked up her skirt and lifted the bottom so that it reached her ankles. But she realized quickly that this wasn't the case, and actually her feet were dry. So Prophet Suleiman had to explain to her that actually this is a sheet of glass and not water, which made her realize that what you see can deceive you. Deceive means to trick you. So she realized that your sight can trick you, which is similar to how people see the sun and the moon as God when actually they are God's creation, not God himself. Prophet Suleiman treated Bulqais with a lot of respect and dignity, welcoming her throughout her visit. Because of Prophet Suleiman's kindness as well as his wisdom, Bulqais decided that she would also submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She said, I will submit myself with Suleiman to his God, the Lord of all the worlds. Bulqais decided to give up worshipping the sun god and the other idols. Instead, she gladly accepted Prophet Suleiman's religion. Through her actions, her people also followed, and they came to the path of accepting, believing, and worshipping one God, which is a big good deed for the wise queen of Sheba. Okay, everybody, that was the end of our story. It seems like it happened really quickly this time, but I hope you guys either refreshed your memory or learnt a new story about some of the Islamic figures that we have. Okay, so let's start with some questions, and after this we'll just talk a little.
Excuse me.
Yeah?
I got cut out from the meeting and I didn't know what happened in the story.
Oh, that's really unfortunate. What I will do is we'll talk about it, and hopefully the others can help you by refreshing your memory. Did that happen for everybody else, or was that okay for everybody else?
It didn't happen to me.
Okay, that's fine then. Sorry, Zainab, that happened to you. Maybe through this discussion, you'll be able to work out what happened. And we'll be posting the video on YouTube afterwards. So if you really want to see what happened, then you can watch it again, okay? So the first question for those who could see is, the Prophet Suleiman asked for his the queen's throne to be brought to him. Can anyone tell me how long did it take for the man to bring the queen's throne to Prophet Suleiman's palace? Fazil, your hand is straight up. I'd love to hear you contribute.
It was in a blink of an eye.
Brilliant, in a blink of an eye. And the Prophet Suleiman said that even if the jinn could bring it before he stood up, that was too slow. So it's amazing how Suleiman wanted it to be so quickly. Well done, Mohammed. That's the right answer. Okay, the second question is, what was the queen's reaction to finding out that her throne had arrived at the palace before her?
I know.
Zainab, thanks for contributing, but you've spoken a bit. So let me ask Aiza, because she's got her hand up and she hasn't spoken. So Aiza, what did the queen react? How did she react to the throne?
She was shocked.
She was shocked, exactly. She was surprised. Well done, Malika. That's a good answer as well. How on earth is her throne there? That's a bit strange. And then once she worked out that her throne was there, she decided that she was going to test Prophet Suleiman. And how did she test Prophet Suleiman? Looking for her.
With riddles.
With riddles. Mohammed Rizwan's got a good answer, Mohammed. Mute yourself, please. Okay, Zara, maybe you can explain what the riddle was for people who might not have seen what happened. Zara.
So she put 2 baskets with flowers far away from Prophet Suleiman's throne, and she asked him to find out. So one of them had fake flowers and one of them had real. and she asked him to find out which one was real without getting off his throne.
Perfect. And Prophet Suleiman, anyone else want to finish the story? How did he work out that? Shazan, sure, you've unmuted yourself. What would you like to say? How did he work out?
How he worked it out by ordering his servants to open the windows, and then lots of bees came in and rushed to the fresh flowers.
Perfect.
And that's how he found out the answer to the riddle.
Brilliant. That was pretty ingenious move from Prophet Suleiman, right? Can you imagine? He just sat on his throne and then he got the windows open and he worked it out without even having to get up. So this obviously impressed the queen. And what else happened at the palace? There was something about a glass floor. Can anyone remember what was underneath the glass floor?
It was water. There was water and there was fish under the glass.
There was
Perfect.
water underneath.
Well done, Mohammed and Fazil. All right, if you've already spoken, let's see if anybody else would like to speak before you unmute yourself, okay? But well done for participating, everybody. And so she thought that it was water, so she was going to get wet, but really it was glass, so she didn't get wet. But then what happened is that made her realize that what you see is not what you always get. And the last question that I'm going to ask is when people, if you could all mute yourself. At the end, when she decided, well done, Mohammed, you mentioned it, that she accepted Islam. Does anyone remember what she said when she decided that she would accept Islam? Isaiah, I see your hand up.
Can I say it?
Sure. Zara and Batul, is that you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Bulqais, she said that that I submit myself to with Prophet Suleiman to his God.
Perfect. And it's important that she said that she would submit with Prophet Suleiman because she understood that he was right and that he was a great king, but not only a king, he was doing a great job at being the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So well done, everybody, for paying attention to the story. I saw someone say that was very quick. Inshallah, next time I'll prepare a bit longer story so that you guys can participate even more. And now for the last bit of...
I enjoyed the story.
Someone's unmuted. All right, so for the last part of this session, I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to think about what were the qualities of Bulqais that made her a good queen, and why should we look up to her, or what can we take from her story? So if you take a couple of minutes to think about it, or if anybody else already has some answers, then they're more than welcome to share with us. Let me know if you've got your hand up or if you're... I see iPhone, your hand is up, but your name says iPhone, so I don't know what your name is.
My name is Ahmed Reza.
Oh, sorry. I remember. Sorry, Ahmed. Of course.
She was wise and strong, and she was very brave.
Brilliant. She was wise, strong, and brave. Okay, so strong and brave, if we remember that she was supporting her father in the battles, maybe what can we learn from that? You can learn from your parents, maybe, when you help them or when you support them. That's an interesting thing that we could maybe learn from Bulqais, that she was always looking at her father and learning in his footsteps. Zara Asif typed, never use violence to solve problems. That is a very important lesson that we can learn from Queen Bulqais. Does anyone else have something to say about that? That we shouldn't use violence when it comes to solving problems? Michelle, have you got something?
She accepted all the gifts and truth.
Sorry, what was that, Mohammed?
She
accepted the gifts and the truth.
She did accept the gifts. Did she accept the gifts? She accepted the truth at the end, but she was the one who gave the gifts, remember? All right. Thank you, Mohammed. Let's think about how she didn't want to use violence. It's a very important thing, you know, for us when we're playing with others, when we're talking to others, sometimes problems can happen, right? And you might get into a bit of a conflict, or something might make you upset, or someone might threaten you. But what did Bulqais do? Even though there was no threat and some of her advisors suggested maybe we should use violence, she decided to go and listen to the advice of the people who said, let's take the peaceful route, right? So that's something important we can learn from Queen Bulqais. Has anybody else got some thoughts that we can learn from her story? Zara Ali said she believed in herself. That's a very good point. She believed in herself and she trusted that as time would go on, she would make the right decisions. Anyone else brave enough to put their hand up?
I want to say something.
Sure, Mohammed, say something.
Like if we go somewhere, like in aquarium, you see there's glass, and you walk in, you'll think like the water is gonna splash into you, but then you'll realize it's glass.
Brilliant. That's what happened, right, in the story. So yeah, there was the glass and she saw it and she thought there was water. But what's interesting is she sees something, but it isn't what it actually is. What do we know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can't see him, but we know he exists, right? So just because you see something doesn't mean that it exists. And sometimes if you don't see something, that doesn't mean that it's not there, right? Anybody else got something they'd like to share? What else can we learn from Bulqais' story? Isa, you got your hand up. Would you like to share?
That always trust your parents and support them.
That's a nice lesson that we can learn from her. She supported her dad when he had to fight in those battles. And through that helping, she got some wisdom, right? So hopefully we can all be good children and listen to our parents, even when sometimes it might get a bit difficult to listen to them. Someone saying, I'm confused. I hope everything is okay. All right. Anyone else got some last things to share? Fazil, you've got your hand up.
So the one who got the throne in the blink of an eye, his name was Asif Barkhia.
Wow. Well done that's amazing knowledge. Well done, Fazil. So what can we learn from him in this story? That he had knowledge of the book, right? He had knowledge of the word of God. So we might not be able to know as much as he did, but if we continue to try and learn about our religion and learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that can give us a bit more power and strength in our beliefs. And also maybe, inshallah, Allah will bless us with strength in our faith. He was so strong in his faith that he was able to move a chair. Not just a chair, it was a majestic, mighty throne, right? Okay. If anyone else has something to share, this is your last opportunity because we will be ending soon otherwise. Feel free to turn on your camera. The ones
we should call Allah with peace.
Sorry, Mohammed, say that again.
We should call others in peace.
We should talk to others in peace. We should call others in peace. That's a very good thing to learn. We should be respectful when we're talking to each other. Zara, have you got something to share?
Some things don't, like, you don't see some things, but they exist, sort of like pain and like love.
That's a very interesting point. Similar to how she could see the glass, right? But there was but it wasn't actually. That's a good point. Well done. Dua and Zainab, you've got your hands up.
You should always believe in Allah, and you should be like brave.
Brave. Good. That's a great thing to learn. I'm glad that you took that from the story. Zara Asif, if you still have something to share, you can say it if you like.
Never have doubts on people.
Ooh, never have doubts. That's interesting. How did you get that from the story?
Because they thought Bulqais wouldn't be a good queen because no woman had.
That's good. That the people thought she wouldn't be a good queen, but they didn't. They judged her first, right? They said, "Oh, but what would she know about being a good queen? She's just a woman." But once they saw and once they experienced how the queen would be with them, then they would realize that they shouldn't have judged that book before the book by its cover, right? That's a really good lesson to learn from the story. Don't judge people and don't doubt them before they've even had a chance to show what they want to show you. Okay. Anybody else? Aiza, you've still got your hand up. Is there something you want to share?
I have a question.
Sure. What's your question?
How did Prophet Suleiman put the water in when it was actually glass? When he would fill it, it would all come out.
That's an interesting question. So I don't know the exact answer, but what I'm thinking is that when he probably made that room, he made the floor a bit like a swimming pool, and he filled it up with water. And then when the pool was full, he probably put the glass on top of the water so that it covered the floor. Does that make sense? And that way, when you walk on the glass, it feels like flooring, and then you think that there's water underneath you, right? Nice question, Aiza. Zara, you've still got your hand up if you'd like to share.
I think I learned that it's okay to doubt yourself sometimes, because that's how she learned.
That's how she learned. And one thing that I've learned from the story, and what I want to improve myself on, is that even though Prophet Suleiman and Queen Bulqais had different beliefs, they both thought different things, right? Queen Bulqais believed in sun as God and moons as God, but Prophet Suleiman believed in one God. But they still managed to talk to each other very nicely and respectfully, and they didn't really have an argument. They just listened to each other and heard each other out, right? So I think that's something really important that I've learned from this story. And I'm glad that you guys have all shared the story with me and participated so well. Inshallah, next time I'll prepare a longer story for you so that you guys don't feel like it ended too quickly. And if anybody else has some last things to say, you're more than welcome to just put your hand up, show me. But that was the end of today's session, the second session of Chronicles of Character. So please come to the next one, and I hope you enjoy that. See you guys later. Bye.
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 Bye.